Hello, magnesium and arthritis. Let's go straight into the topic. Um, we get a lot of calls about arthritis, a lot of people writing in asking about arthritis, and I'm a naturopath. It doesn't mean I know everything, and I'm definitely not a doctor, but I do have common sense. And so, magnesium and arthritis, the arthritis is also partly due to a degradation of structure and structural integrity being disintegrated over many years, and so it's not something that you just it's like porosity or whatever in the bone structure, or osteoporosis, whatever. It's not something that's just boom and then we fix and then boom. It's coming through a lot of degradation and a lot of deficiency over many years. So the structure itself is limited in what it can do. And so trying to build that structure back up, depending on vitality, depending on age and other things. So arthritis is partly there. It plays, that's one part of arthritis. The other part is inflammation. So magnesium, well, let's just go to the first part. The magnesium on the structural level is the key, because magnesium is created in all of these structures. It's used in all these structures. It's actually the scintillating, crystalline little points of light that are built into the bone structure, built into the tissular structure. The most magnesium you find is in the heart itself. So magnesium is built into these structures, and it's needed to be there not only for its capacity, immune capacity, antibiotic or antimicrobial and other capacities that it has, but also as a structural entity, which allows for more flexibility in that same tissue. It's like if everything was done with steel cables, well, it's different than if you have steel cables and you add like a little piece of rubber in there, and then that'll have a little bounce to it, right? So this is how magnesium is working, and it's working that way even at the platelet level, even in the hemoglobin. It's making that platelet be less sticky, allowing it to take on, offload, and onload and offload oxygen, being a better delivery vehicle, increasing oxygen usage. So it has interesting structural capacity too in its flexible nature. Look at the teeth. Teeth is calcium, magnesium, masculine, feminine, I don't know, or passive and active, or hard and soft, whatever you want to call it. So one is hard, the calcium, then the magnesium is flexible. So when they come together, more strength, right? You have strength, and then you have brittleness. If you didn't have the magnesium, then it could break. It would just be cracking, whatever. So this is part of the structural argument of arthritis. And so the second level would be, what would be the second level? Inflammation. Yes, that was what it was. So inflammation, magnesium and inflammation, probably most of the studies you're going to find on magnesium are about inflammation and the calming of such. And so magnesium calms the cytokines and the pro-inflammatory cytokines. Like, it calms their creation, their propagation. It lowers that. It lowers the overuse and overactivity, of the structures as well. It allows for them to rest and breathe and be able to dilate and be able to detoxify and have that passive space, and not just that active space, that parasympathetic space, and not just that orthosympathetic action. And so it allows that to happen. And inflammation is not just like one of many words, generic words. It's the key to most of the problems in the body. And inflammation comes from everything: the environment, heavy metals, and all the aluminum and toxins and endocrine disruptors and acids and acidity. 5G, 4G waves. That coagulates the blood. That creates more tissue, more stuff to get rid of. So these things are all creating. This electrical stuff is creating things. It's not just electrical and we're just walking in it. So all of that plays into it. Now, vitamin D level is going to be key too, because the calcination, magnesium is a natural calcium channel blocker. So it's going to keep calcium from calcifying the tissue and structures. And that's where arthritis comes in, a lot of calcification and of the tissue. And so that calcification is happening because the magnesium levels are low, or it's one of the reasons. It could be all sorts of things. You could be eating, drinking 3 Coca-Colas a day. I don't know. But there's this need for the magnesium to allow the cell its relaxation and dilation, detoxification capacity, and its flexibility, because it's blocking that calcium, but it's not just blocking it; it's allowing some in. It's just not allowing it to oxidize the cell, because it's attaching itself to, it's giving away itself as well, and so it's allowing itself to mix with the calcium to create a structure which is more flexible in that structure, right? In that cell wall, membrane, whatever. And so that gives more life and less, what is it, apoptosis, cell death. And so that cell death, multiplied times whatever, is a part of the structural disintegrity, right? And so so that's the other key underlying feature, underlying function, underlying etiology of arthritis. There's also vitamin D, which plays a key role, because the problem with the calcium that's in the blood, and even taking calcium and all these things that we're doing, and the bad calcium and all the bad milk and the bad dairy and all the stuff that's been really worked down to a bad level where we're not getting what our ancestors used to get, then it's not aimed properly, a lot of that, because it's been destroyed. The ultra pasteurization or whatever has destroyed some of its properties, or it's pulled the iodine out of it and pulled this out of it and refined it to where it doesn't have this, and this, these cofactors, and then it can't properly assimilate, or the fats aren't there, and then, whatever. So you need a certain combination or it doesn't work. And so lack of vitamin D at a high level can contribute to the when this calcium is running around in the blood, it's not able to aim itself properly into the tissues. The D is like the organizer of that, aiming that. And so it's allowing it to aim into those tissues and bringing them into the tissues in the right way. And so otherwise it's just deposition, and then we start having problems and bone spurs and all these other things. So this is osteoarthritis. Now, I guess we could say rheumatoid arthritis is maybe we're kind of on one element of arthritis right now. And the rheumatoid arthritis would have a different etiology as well, because that would be staphylococcus, this bacteria, the proliferation of that bacteria underlying the bad dispersion, the improper dispersion of heat and warmth in the body, and how that creates these pockets for these staphylococcus bacteria. And so there's, I know that there's people who use boswellia, and there's other remedies for that. But in general, the magnesium, where we're at here, is how it's going to cover a lot of the acidity, the removal of that acidity through its integration into the structure. These minerals are like the opposite of acids in a way. They buffer each other, and they conjugate, and they can move the acids out through that. But you have to sacrifice the mineral to a certain degree. So that well-distributed executive is what I'm calling this magnesium distribution in the structure, allows for this. You don't have to have all the policing, all the immune system always there, because of this well-made structure. It allows not only antimicrobial functions the magnesium has, tissue structural capacity, like flexibility in that same structure, so there's less wear and tear. So there's so many ways in which this works. That low levels of it are going to create havoc and acidity, and that buffering is not going to happen, and so that acidity is going to stay there, and the inflammation is going to start. So acidity, then inflammation, then cancer, and then so it kind of goes in this pattern. And so this is all underlying deficiencies: magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K2. So find those three. I call that the threefold remedy, and you can look at some of our other videos on that, Sacred Remedies, or the books that we sell, The Mysteries of Nutrition, and how to use those sacred foods to heal. So the lack of vitamin D at a high level, is really part of the problem. And taking isolated vitamin D doesn't work either, because you need to take it in conjunction with A. That's why we recommended fermented cod liver oil, or even high vitamin cod liver oil back in the day, because it was that association. And so otherwise you can get yourself in trouble. And then K2, a lot of people can't find K2 in the modern society. So we recommend the emu oil from Walkabout brand, Radiant Life, and we don't get paid by them, but it's wherever you can find it. And to sip that, twice a day or 2 tablespoons or a tablespoon a day or whatever if you can afford it. But and there's other places for it. See other podcasts. But magnesium is the baseline of all of this. It's the lattice. It's the lattice that's needed for this structure to work properly. Now, how does it help now that we can say, well, the structure's already, what do we do now? Well, magnesium is going to get in there through its microcirculation capacity, especially through transdermal in those zones where you have the arthritis, and it's going to allow a microcirculation change, which helps detoxify the things that are presently causing decay or destruction or obstruction or whatever detoxification is needed there. And so it's going to help move that stuff around and get that out of there. So pain and inflammation, they all go together. So it's like the pain's there. We bring the product that diffuses that dilation around all that area, which is what magnesium does. It's a dilator to a certain degree. And that opens up and allows that pain to move forward. So the pain, and that's the first level of treating the sickness, is getting rid of the pain, right? So try it. And the fact that it's local and you can go direct in this transdermal way, it's so much more powerful. You can do directly on the cramp, directly on the zone, and you can massage it every day and build that into the structure from externally. It is absorbed. Why did our ancestors do the Greek and Roman bath culture? What was that all about? Those magnesium-rich waters. What was that about? With age, it's harder and harder to extract the magnesium from the foods we eat. We need a second savior, a secondary emunctory that we can use, an organ that's ubiquitous that we can dose up with. So our ancestors understood this. So don't get the fake stuff, get the real stuff. Go to theheartoftradition.com, get the glass blue bottles with no endocrine disruptors. Don't get plastic. Don't go cheap, even though there's cheaper brands out there. There's a lot of fake Zechstein out there that says genuine or ancient or Permian or whatever it says. Don't go there. Try to find, it's only $3 a week to get the glass bottle, the right stuff. So get the right stuff. $70 a year probably max, or maybe less, to do a full treatment and really heal this. So it's better to do it right than to try to get a cheaper this, that, and the other because you think it might be coming from there. But most of the time it's either diluted or both, diluted and chemically treated. But it's always chemically treated if it doesn't have the Zechstein Inside logo on there. So they have to chemically treat it because it's not a natural state product, meaning it's not coming from a stone that is exactly magnesium chloride stone in natural state that nature created. So you have to take other things which have potassium and heavy metals attached, and you have to clean them and upgrade, is what they call it, to get that stuff out, and then you sell the magnesium molecule. So there's a whole industry behind this, and so do the right thing, get the glass bottles, do it right, theheartoftradition.com, come check us out, and there's a lot of other free health tips on the way and on the site. Thanks.